And Bhavani, welcome to the show.
Yay! It's PM, Friday PM.
PM, there we go. There it is.
Wow. Bhavani, welcome back to the show, I should say. You've been on the show before. But tell the people about yourself, please.
Sure. And first of all, thank you. Thank you so much for having us on the show. And I'm Pavni. I'm PM in the Amazon Opensearch Service team, currently leading the serverless and vector engine initiatives. And today we're excited to be talking about one of the key features in Opensearch Serverless.
We're going to learn a lot about Opensearch today. Prashant, you're up next.
Yes, sure. Thanks, AM, for having us. So my name is Prashant Agrawal, and I'm working as solution architect, primarily focusing on Opensearch Service and Opensearch Serverless. Excited to be here talking about some of the cool features we are developing with respect to the Opensearch Service and Serverless altogether. And also, Pavni gave a brief hint about the vector engine too, everything what we are hearing with respect to the GenAI space. So Opensearch is also there in that race.
Yeah, look, all you have to say is GenAI, and I think you've got everyone's attention, right? Yeah. The secret right now. That's all you have to say.
It was kind of a different keyword than Friday, or it's kind of almost a weekend. So GenAI.
Right. There you go. All right. But before we get into some of the exciting features y'all have been working on, specifically too in Opensearch Serverless this year, I thought it would be best. So I think we're going to be talking about deleting records based off time, right, in Opensearch today, which is the feature that we're talking about. But in general, right, let's talk a little bit first about what people are using Opensearch for, right? So either one of you, do you want to cover what are the main things that people use Opensearch for?
Yeah, I can take that. So Opensearch is a distributed search engine, right? So the very first use case is search. People are powering their customer applications, websites, either internal or external. I mean, we have a lot of customers using this for their internet-facing applications as well, for catalog search, internal document search, and say legal document search, right? So that's the very first use case. And because Opensearch is a distributed search engine, it can process large volumes of data fairly quickly, right? So that makes it really popular for log analytics or time series use cases. This could be application logs, it could be security analytics, you name it in the time series area, or even looking at the events, right? Sentiments in Twitter, for example, or tweets rather. So these are some of the use cases that people use, Opensearch for. And of course, as Prashant mentioned, there's the third use case that's really catching up and probably, in no time may supersede some of these two use cases, is the GenAI use case, right? So Opensearch is also being used by many, many customers as a vector database. So it can basically store and analyze data and give you similarity search results, which is then being used, taken over, which is then being used by the GenAI applications to, generate content.
Wonderful. So today, y'all recently launched the capability to delete automatically by time, right? Within Opensearch. That's probably going to come most handy with kind of that log use case that you just mentioned, right? Can we talk a little bit about what goes into building a log analytics solution, right? So Opensearch obviously is part of that, but what else, are people joining with Opensearch to build out this kind of log aggregation and analytics solution?
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. So you sure we have time, right? Today I can go on.
Yeah. Let's maybe take an abbreviated view. What are the main components? Because I know that's a huge topic.
Yeah. So think about logs, right? I mean, with this whole cloud and microservices based architecture that you see around, a lot of people, it's given flexibility to a lot of application developers right now. Teams can basically individually build microservices, and then you're basically tying all these together. And when you're tying all these together, a single packet, for example, it can have, in a microservices architecture, it can have as many as 250 hops. Now, in such architectures, right, and again, this is just one example that I'm taking, what you would notice is that you don't know where the system has failed. And that's why all these services are now generating a lot of logs, right? And the second thing that's really made it easy is the provisioning, right? With EKS and containers, so you have that layer. And then there's the networking layer. So you have to tie all these together when you're debugging for applications. And one way to do that is basically generate logs so that you're able to go back in time to see what has happened, right? So metrics gives you point in time sort of, results, but logs will really help you analyze what went wrong. And that's why people are investing a lot in logs. So now that you have many logs, you have to have an infrastructure that's able to, or solution rather, that's able to analyze all these logs. Right. And that's the most popular use case, like I said, one of the more popular use cases in Opensearch. Now, what do they use? They may directly stream to Opensearch endpoints, right? Or they could use FluentBit, FluentD. They could use Kinesis. And of course, we recently, well, not so recent, but this year, we also released Opensearch ingestion service. So they could also use that to basically send the logs to the Opensearch endpoints. And before that, they may also decide they want to, they may use ETL, by the way, or some sort of transformation technology to transform the logs before ingesting into Opensearch as well. So that's also, one of the use cases.
Very nice. So sounds like people are using logs for more than just print statements that say "got here," which is one of my favorites to use when I'm coding, right? Like
debugging
when I'm going through.
Yeah.
What's your favorite print statement to use, James, to make sure that one of your functions, like you actually called the function, or you've got the right data, or what do you say in yours?
I have nothing exciting as for that. I usually say what I am expecting back. Like,
you just print the variable.
Yeah, I'm not exciting like that. Like, total value is blank, and then if I got there and the number looks correct, I give a fist pump. That's
nice. All right.
X succeeded, right? So for me, it's like step one succeeded, and then I move on to the next. So I know that at least I've gone over.
Succeeded. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, that's great too. Okay. So what options? So we've already mentioned Opensearch Serverless, right? What are my options when I want to go out and deploy Opensearch?
Very good. Yeah. So Opensearch is an open source project, right? So we've since its inception, we've had tremendous reception from the community and customers. So there's the first option is you can basically download a Docker image and run it yourself, right? So it's for those that prefer to run with open source software, right? And without really having to have a managed service, because then you have full control on how you're deploying it and so on and so forth. Then there's the other set of customers that prefer managed service. And for that, we have two options in Amazon Opensearch Service. The first option is managed clusters. This, again, it's basically you can stand up cluster in a secure cluster in minutes with the managed clusters option in Amazon Opensearch Service. The benefit over there is that, again, you basically have the control over price performance. You can decide what sort of instance you want, what sort of storage you want, and you can go ahead with that. And you can also basically tune some of the cluster settings to meet your use case requirement. And there's the third, which we released this year, and we spoke about that on air a couple months back. It's the serverless offering, right? We have a lot of customers who came back and said that, hey, we love the flexibility, the query flexibility that you have with Opensearch, but we really don't want to be managing the underlying infrastructure, right? They just need an endpoint. They want us to, manage everything, which we're going to talk about, which is the index lifecycle as well as, the shard management. Everything is being managed by the service itself or by the software itself. And that's
you've got a few diagrams you said you wanted to share with us. Are those about how Opensearch Serverless actually works behind the scenes?
Yeah. I mean,
do you want to pull those up?
Yeah, let's do that. Right. Actually, it was in the context of automated time-based, because you guys told me I couldn't use too many slides.
No, we don't do slides here. No, that's not a slide. It's not a slideshow. This is
right. But yeah,
demo.
But predominantly the architecture remains the same, right? So in serverless, what we've done is we've taken the monolithic Opensearch, and we basically broke it down into multiple microservices, and that gives us the flexibility to scale each layer independently. So what that really means is that now the very first thing what we did is we decoupled storage and compute, right? And that basically helped us to have different indexing and search infrastructure or a pipeline. And you may ask, why would you need that? And that basically, again, ties back to our use cases, right? So the first use case, log analytics, is more indexing or ingestion heavy, right? Whereas search is more search or query heavy. So if there is a sudden event or sudden burst in ingestion, you typically want the indexing to scale seamlessly while the search performance remains unaffected. So this architecture really gives us that flexibility where you can scale, the compute layer for indexing with the sudden burst in ingestion, scale up and scale down, that is scale in and scale out both. And similarly, if there is a news event, say, and you see sudden spike in search, you want to be able to, basically span out to be able to service those workloads, right? And the good part over here is that all the data is written, all the indexed data is written to S3. So with that, what you get is the flexibility that whenever you want to scale out, rather than relying on your nodes, the data nodes, to distribute the data, you can directly read from S3.
Nice.
Right.
All right. So I think, Prashant, you're up next to actually show us how to set up this automatic time-based deletion, right? Because, look, as we all know, you got devs over here that are just putting all kinds of log statements in their code, and they definitely take them all out during the code review. The unnecessary ones. Absolutely, they're all gone. Anyway, what I'm trying to get to is log data. It piles up over time, right? You don't want to keep it. It's not necessarily something that you have to retain for a long period of time. So this is going to be great. I don't have to go in and find it and delete it anymore.
Yeah,
it's going to do that for me. And Prashant, you're going to show us how?
Yep, I'm ready. Once you're ready, I'm ready.
All right.
See.
There you go.
You mean you don't want to search through all of my got here statements? You don't want to have all those indexed? But I don't see why not.
Want to, but not all the time. We only want to see what you are typing like right now. We don't want to go and say like what you typed 365 days back.
5 years back, yes.
All right. All right. So once you get into the AWS console, you have two options to go into the Opensearch Serverless. Either you can type the Opensearch over here. Like if you type the Opensearch, you get to the Opensearch service. And as Pavni mentioned about three things. So one is like the managed cluster. That's what we have on the top left. Then we have the Opensearch Serverless at the middle. And then she also briefly mentioned about when we were talking about how exactly you can get the data into the Opensearch service or the serverless. So that's where we have the Opensearch ingestion service. So in this one, I'm going to show like how does the Opensearch serverless dashboard look like. So once you get into the landing page of the serverless dashboard, you see all the collection what you have created. And for this demo, let me show like how easily you can create a collection. So once you go, you specify the collection name. And what I'm gonna do is Friday on here. And
then the Friday theme.
And then maybe put some description. And then like when Pavni was talking about like we predominantly have three use cases. So one is the time series. That's what we are going to talk about, like how exactly you can set up the different retention policy for your log data. Then second one is the search. So this you can consider like if you have a product catalog, for example, you are selling some product, or you take an example of Amazon.com where you have a lot of product, you want to provide an interface for user to search on, then you can use the search type of collection. And then when we talk about the semantic search, that's where you go and use the vector search over there. So let's consider we are going to use the time series for this demo. Then under the security, and probably everyone knows like security is job zero at Amazon and all the services what we have. So there are two options to specify the security. One is the easy create and second one is the standard one. So on the easy create option, there are different components. The first one is like how your data is going to be encrypted. You can bring your own KMS key for encrypting the data, or you can let the AWS own the key for that one. The next one is the network access. That's where you can define if your collection should be accessible into a public internet or it would be available only in a VPC. Then the next one, you define the data access policy. So here you can set up the granularity at the index level or at the collection level, like what particular user or IAM role should have what kind of access. So like in the easy create option, it's kind of an admin role where like any user, so basically this particular role, what I have as the Opensearch, it will have all the permission like create, delete, update collections. Then on the indexing side, it has like all the permission, like basically all the CRUD operation, create, upsert, delete, etc. would be there. And then let me quickly show how does the standard create look like. So on the standard create, you have an option to define your own KMS key. Then you can define your collection to be like in a public internet or a VPC. You can specify your own VPC, and then you can continue next. So let me go click on easy create, go on next. On this page, you can verify whatever you have entered. It will talk about all the three different security aspects what we talked about. Once you submit this, it will take a couple of minutes to create the collection. So by the time this particular collection is getting created, let me show you the specific feature what we have launched, that is the data lifecycle policy. So using the data lifecycle policy, you can define that policy at the collection level or at the index level. So for example, I have a policy where I'm getting all the VPC flow logs data. And here I define all the data what is coming to my this particular collection, which is the serverless demo. And this particular index should only be retained for 24 hours. So let me first go to the collection and show the data over there. If I go to the collection, and now you can see, I was like probably a couple of seconds and my collection is created this Friday on air. So it really takes like less than a minute once you have already one collection. Otherwise, it will take a couple of minutes to create the collection. If I go to my collection, here you can verify the data lifecycle policy, what I have attached. And how you can add another policy, just click on create data lifecycle policy. You can say this is my web logs. And here you define the index name. So any index name which starts with like weblog, that will be getting applied with this particular policy. So by default, it's unlimited. So basically to the James, like you want to go and search all the data. So you don't really want to set up any policy, so just keep it unlimited. Otherwise, you define like how many days or how much hours you want to keep the data and then delete it. So let's say for the weblog, I want to keep it for 7 days. Set the policy and create it. Now I have two policy attached to this particular collection. So how do I access the Opensearch dashboard? So on the same page, I have the dashboard, which is the, you can say a user interface for visualizing the data or the logs what you're having. So you don't really have to go back in the history and do like cat, etc. into your terminal. So see, I have some of the data, which is the VPC flow logs, which I was talking about. It kind of keeps generating the data. And if I go, let's say last maybe 30 hours, so that's where I can say like I'm only keeping the data, which is kind of near about 24 hours, and all the data before that getting deleted. It's happening automatically. If I do last 7 days, then you can see all the data like on 8, 7, 6, it's deleted. And I could be like, how do I verify? For that, what I did is I created a small recording yesterday to make sure like I had the data on November 8th to 9th, where I was getting data for that particular day, that is the yesterday. And then if you look at today, I don't really have any data for 8th of November. So this is kind of how the data lifecycle policy works. So one more thing which I want to highlight over here is whatever policy I have set up as of now, that was for this particular collection. If you go to the data lifecycle policy over here, and if you create the policy from here, then you will also have an option to kind of define what particular collection you want to add. So if you have multiple collections, first you can select the collections, like say, I have Friday on air, then you can specify the index. It could be, let's say you have weblogs, and you can have the specific index, or you can have a wildcard pattern for that one. You can have as many index, you can have like as many variation of collection in index when you're defining that particular topic. Here I can see Apache logs, something like that. And then you can set up the policy for both of these indices with the single policy. And you can specify like in days or hours over here. So in this, oops, 1 second. Now my policy is created, and here you can see this particular policy is applicable for this collection and this index, and then this collection and this particular index. So that way you can do mix and match of indices and collections within the single data lifecycle policy.
Yeah. And one thing we wanted to talk about is, today how customers are managing log analytics data is they create daily indexes, right? And then they roll over the data and they go back in time and delete those indexes, right? So it's like November 10th in log.log, 11.log, 12.log, and then they have scripts to delete it. And then the second thing is that you don't want all the data to be in your hot cache, right? Because that's, you think about it, people are streaming. I mean, now we are also hearing a couple customers streaming terabytes of data, and you really don't want, that piling over days. You don't want all of that in the hot cache. So what we do is we basically maintain a hot and warm tier in serverless on the search side, which means that 1 day worth of data, we keep all the data in hot, and the rest we are just keeping the metadata information, right? So because the data is inherently sitting in S3, we can pull the data from S3 on demand, whenever, if that query is looking for that particular data, right? So that's the other intelligent management that's going on behind the scenes, saving costs.
Yeah, I was going to say, this seems like a really, really simple cost optimization thing to go in and implement.
Yeah.
Like, without doing, just like clicking around in the console, setting a deletion policy for your data lifecycle. It's super easy. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I have that. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So typically I wanted to show here, like, if you are kind of managing your multiple indices over a period of day, then you will see like a lot of indices on this particular page when you run the cat indices. So that's what we want to highlight, and how the serverless solves that particular problem is like, you don't really have to create multiple indices for certain kind of log. Just create one indices for each category of log you can see, and then set up the data retention policy, and the data will be automatically rotated or deleted.
Yeah.
I love it. That's great. Well, thank you, Prashant. Anything else to show? I think we are nearing time, so we should move to wrap up here.
Yeah. No, I think this is it. I mean, we cost effectiveness and simplicity. I mean, these are the tenets for serverless. So, we're really happy to have this feature released, and, can't wait for customers to give feedback. I mean, we've had some great customers giving awesome feedback. So encourage everyone, every log analytics customer, to try it out and give us, provide us your feedback.
Yeah, Popney, I was going to ask, what other features are y'all really proud of this year that you've launched with Opensearch Serverless? Because I know you and I talked very early on, maybe even it might have even been last year technically.
Last year, yeah.
Yeah. But what's been up for Opensearch Serverless all year in 2023?
Yeah, I mean, can I show one slide?
Yes, I'll allow one slide. Yeah, technically you've already had one slide.
Yeah. Just I mean, so yeah,
yes.
I think it's still the same. The tenets remain same: performance, scalability, cost efficiency, and integration. So, we're always looking to bin pack more data, and that's where the hot warm comes in. But not even that. We have this capacity unit in serverless. The capacity unit is called OCU, Open Search Compute Unit. So we're trying to pack more shards so that you can pack more data and reduce the cost, right? And again, data deletion is going to be another one. Automated data deletion, rather, is going to be the other feature that really will help you with maintaining lower costs. Next is scalability, right? We started off with 1 TB support. Now we support 5 TB, and this is going to be a continuous area of development and enhancement. Scale out replica. Remember, we gave the use case where we said that, hey, for query transactions, what happens is if you really get too many queries, you want to be able to scale out. And in those cases, what we've done is we've optimized to not just scale out the entire index, but the shard that is under duress. So again, it's cost effective, but also improved scalability. The maximum limit, this is typically the limit that people put on, that they set or configure to ensure that there's better control on billing and costs. So, but we've had customers who really are using it for many use cases. So they've asked for extending those limits, the OCU limits, from 50 to 100. Again, this is an area you'll see where we'll keep on increasing in the future as well. Raising the limits for OCUs. And last but not the least is vector engine, and of course integrations, right? Terraform support, AWS notifications, to let user know when there is OCU limits or OCU thresholds are breached, so that they can raise the limit or delete the data.
Nice.
And then vector engine, yeah. I mean, I think we've heard NVIDIA, talk about generative AI. Especially for RAG use cases and of course, semantic search use cases. Opensearch has always supported, and which is, the underlying algorithm. And now we brought that feature functionality to serverless. So it's in preview right now, but the response has been overwhelming, to be very honest. It's great.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, yes, I think we've heard everyone talk about generative AI this year, so that's great that y'all have vector database as an option here.
Yes.
So that's amazing. Unfortunately, we are out of time. It seems very, very simple, very easy to go get started with the time-based deletion, though. Prashant, thank you for walking us through that. And Pavni, thank you for taking us through all the cool stuff that y'all have been doing.
And James, I know you're itching to say, come on, spit it out. Opensearch is your favorite service.
Of course. I mean, the question is, who doesn't have Opensearch as their favorite service? I mean, nice callback to the very beginning of the show, though. That was great. I totally forgot. I was like, wait a second.
All right. Well, I'm sure we'll see you again on the show, Pavni, as well. Prashant, hope to see you too. We got to run, but thank you both for being with us today.